First of all, congratulations on this. It is such a fantastic watch. It is kind of creepy the way this movie goes, but at the same time, it has a lot of great comedy. What is it like to embody these characters and bring them out in this very nostalgic kind of way?
Mm. Go ahead, Scott.
You son of a bitch. I listen. We've been doing this a lot. I'll just Kevin and Kate's heard this answer a lot. I, we started doing this as a short film before we shot the feature, right? So we really lived in these characters for a long time, you know. And by the time we got to the feature, it was just a bigger, more ambitious story. So we had plenty of time to collaborate on how we wanted to tell the story, who these people were. Um, it felt really natural to bring it to life for the feature. It felt, for me anyway. Like I said, I've been living with it for a while, so it was easy. It was our job. It was a good collaborative effort, and I think we did a good job at it.
Yeah, I also think kind of what you were saying about it being kind of a mixture of comedy and the kind of creepiness of it. To me personally, as an actor, but also as a filmmaker, that is like my favorite thing to do because it is so fun to be able to have these moments of comedy and these moments of kind of lightheartedness, but then also kind of then crash down into this more kind of creepy and serious and dangerous things. I mean, it's like what's better than to be able to play something that wide and multifaceted. It's just a fun challenge, I
And
think.
I think the world was really fun too. I mean, considering our costumes, especially mine, and then the backdrop and environment, you're in a field, you're in a barn, you're at a ranch or wherever you are,
Mhm.
even just at the butcher shop. There's so much scenery to chew and just kind of absorb and yeah, it was just really immersive for
Mhm.
sure.
Um, I want to talk about this scene without giving too much away. There's that scene in the middle in the butcher shop that seems kind of intense. It
Uh-huh.
what was the build up to that? How was that directed in order to make it so I don't know how to put it other than it's just very intense between
Uncomfortable.
you guys. Yeah.
Just uneasy.
Yeah.
Just
I think
uneasy.
that first of all, that scene is written beautifully. I think it's amazing to watch a scene that as an audience and as like Louie in the moment,
Mhm.
it starts so kind of like normal and then you almost feel like you're descending into something that feels really unknown and very, very dangerous and in your face. And
Mhm.
there's this, and yet we're still talking about very normal things. And so that's I think accomplished through really good acting from
Mhm.
both of these two, and then also when we went back and looked at how do we make this scene feel tense, there's so much from a directing standpoint that you can do, whether it's choosing the shots you're going to use that maybe when I'm shooting Travis, I'm using a low angle
Mhm.
so he feels really big and imposing, and then we are the lights that we're using, the way that the scene is being colored, that it makes it feel kind of cold but somehow clammy still.
Mhm.
And then also the score and the little bits of like tense tonal music that you can bring in that kind of raise the hairs on your arms a little.
Mhm.
And so I think it's kind of like it's using all of those different languages and weaving them together just to make you it gives you a stomach ache watching that scene, I think. So it is it's uncomfortable.
Definitely is. And for you two guys playing in it, what kind of conversations you have amongst each other in order to, keep that kind of lightheartedness, but at the same time, like she said, very creepy vibe in it.
Well, I mean, kind
Well,
of.
we
So,
stuffed Scott, let me talk. Uh, we
please, please.
we we stuffed Scott full of ribs just to kind of get him animated.
Scott
And
doesn't eat meat like that, so it was like,
Mm.
sorry, Scott, you're eating a whole pig
I
today.
did it. I did it for the role.
We were
Okay,
like,
I
Scott, you
did
can
it for the
pretend to eat
movie.
it, and he was like, I can do it. I'll be okay. And then he was like,
I'm a
mm.
method actor, and I
I
took
definitely
like
got a parasite from touching
Oh,
raw
stop,
meat.
raw meat. No,
disgusting.
you got a parasite from handling raw meat and then eating that
Yes,
that
Yeah,
rib
yeah,
right
yeah,
afterwards, for
yeah.
sure.
But no, we don't. Scott and I don't really talk, so we just kind of jumped into it. But I thought I like it was so challenging and interesting to do this oneer into the butcher shop. That was one of my favorite parts, especially when you watch playback. That whole scene, we would watch like playback of certain elements and or the dailies, and you get really excited about it. So it just kind of helps you, I don't know, do a good job because you're just excited about how everything's coming together and looking.
For Scott, your character is dealing with so much. And now that I know that you've sat with this character for such a long time, how does it feel, when you watch this back? Do you still feel like this character is very true to the page, or is it a little bit more of you than it was the actual written page character?
No, I mean, I think, Kevin is such a good writer. And I was curious to see how the feature would come from the short, because there's a lot more in the feature than there was in the short. I mean, the aspect of, the father and the mental illness, which I
Hmm.
was, that was all new. And I think, I credit these two for really, helping me bring, Louie to life, because, without them, I'd be lost. Um, so yeah, I mean, I look back and I think, I think it was good. What do you guys think?
It was just good. Just good.
It was just good.
Good.
It's
That's you say
good.
that a lot during this interview. So just
Good.
It was pretty good, you know?
And now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was a lot of me. It was a lot of
There's a
me.
lot of Kevin, honestly. There's a lot of Kevin. Sprinkle of Kate, none of me, a lot of Kevin.
all Kevin.
That's awesome. Um, for me, for some of you, you guys took on multiple roles in creating this project. Why was this project so important to you guys?
I mean, I think, we wanted to, the most important thing for us is that we wanted to make something with our friends and make something that we all felt was authentic to us. And yes, we all did. I mean, Scott as an actor and producer, Kevin as a writer and producer and actor, me as a director and actor. It felt so, because we all had our hands in it, it felt so collaborative and so exciting in a way that I think that'll, like, we've all worked as actors for a long time, and you can kind of get stuck in this kind of wheel of just doing projects that you don't have a connection to, but that's just work. And this felt, at least for me, this felt like more than that. It felt like something that was about kind of reclaiming our autonomy as artists a little bit, not to like overblow it, but like, for me personally, it was my first feature as a director, and it will always kind of be really important to me as something that kind of helped me remember why I want to do this and why
Mhm.
we make these movies. And so yeah, it was really important to me in that way.
Uh, Following up with you, since this is your first directorial, what kind of movies did you want in order to get the inspiration for this pacing, for this look? Because it's very specific and very. I think the feel of the
Derivative.
movie it helps a lot. Yeah.
I say this all the time. I'm super derivative because I love movies. Kevin and I watch a movie basically once a day. We watch a movie.
Except for Love is Blind, but
Except for
then
when Love
you
is
take
Blind
a
comes out, and then it
short
ruins
break,
everything.
a short break for Love is
Yeah,
Blind,
we've
and
been
then back.
watching that. It's like really
And then
boiling our
back to
brains.
movies.
No, we watch a lot of movies. I'm a huge fan of movies. I my idol directors are Sean Baker and Jeff Nichols, and so we looked at movies like The Florida Project, like Red Rocket. We looked at films by Jeff Nichols like Mud and Take Shelter, Midnight Special, Shotgun Stories. I mean, all of these kind of like small town stories that have
Mhm.
big influence and that feel big and feel those are the people that I'm trying to emulate in every way. I mean, obviously there's Coen brothers. I mean, that's always huge. There, the movie Death of Dick Long was a huge one for us for this
Big
one.
time.
So yeah, I love I use this program called Shot Deck. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but
Mhm.
it basically, you can go on there, and when you're storyboarding, you can look up any sort of combination of words of the thing that's in your head that you're trying to see visually, and it will pull from films, all kinds of different film grabs, and so screen grabs. So that for me is really I get a lot of ideas for color and a lot of ideas for composition and all of that from just watching other movies and just stealing from everybody. Yeah.
That sounds awesome. For the locations for this, was it difficult to find these locations because they are so integral in what the story is telling?
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, a lot of them were based on places we thought we could get from free in my hometown where we shot the short, north of Sacramento. So like the racetrack and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But we were kind of worried about going over to Illinois with only 2 weeks of prep and finding ones. But we also kind of weaved this story through locations that did feel malleable, like an orchard or like river bottoms and a pasture, a barn. We felt confident that we could find those, and
Hmm.
the corn just like added an element. Things just kind of shift and change, and not having the school bus in the cornfield written and stumbling upon that when she was location scouting for the
Hmm.
orchard and having this corn maze and everything be there. And it was like, oh, let's rewrite for that. So
Hmm.
you just have to be fluid, which is, I think, talk about integral. I think it's integral for indie filmmaking for sure.
Definitely. And when it comes down to the story, how difficult is it to write this? Because there is such an element that makes it feel nostalgic. Are these characters based on real people, or are they just like people you hoped you had growing up?
I'd say that there's a lot of myself in Travis and in Louie for sure. Lainey is not necessarily based on a person, but I think more based on like a device of
Mhm.
this like manic pixie dream girl, that of what was or whatever, even though she's not the pixie dream girl, but like this old flame
Mhm.
that you see in all of these films that they're reconnecting with, and then bringing human stories that were within either my family or people I knew and growing up that are hopefully so distanced that no one will feel them. And also her story is very much a lot of people. So yeah, I think that it was challenging and I had to constantly check myself to make sure that I wasn't wrecking myself. How you like that, Scott? Come
That was
on,
really
buddy, stay
good. That was
alive.
really good.
But yeah, I did I was just very very aware and cognizant
Not becoming Louis.
of not being Louis because it just is my worst fear. And a lot of it, now it takes on a different color, was based around JD Vance and her now vice president,
Not
who
yet, pal. Not yet.
Excuse me.
um, who I hated Hillbilly Elegy and kind of how he painted that kind of just the impoverished in that area. It was just I thought a really
Hollow.
hollow, gross, broad stroke of humanity, and kind of how people's misfortunes are discounted, and
Mhm.
that's why so much we play with the idea of lucky Louis. The fact that Louis can't even acknowledge that he is lucky in any circumstance or way, and
Mhm.
Lainey has had her own misfortunes, and even at the expense of Louis' success. So it's like I think it's that was a huge influence too, and kind of a moral compass throughout.
Definitely. And Scott, having to play a character like this, how difficult is it not to slip into a caricature of what this character is, or even it's just a stereotype of, this type of character?
Yeah, I mean, again, I credit the writing to Kevin because I think it would have been really easy to, like you said, slip into a caricature for sure.
Mhm.
You know, you had to find the reality in him. You had to find the charm, and you had to find, like I said before, I think everybody thinks that they are the hero. Everybody thinks they're the good guy. Everybody thinks that what they're doing is right, usually, right? In
Mhm.
stories, even the villains, even the bad guys think that what they're doing is right, or or that they are in fact the good guy. And I think he believes that. I think he believes that the way he wrote his hometown is is nostalgic, and it's honoring them when, like, Kevin was saying about JD Vance, it kind of shits on them. So
Mhm.
um I think it would be really easy to fall into the sort of arrogant trap that would be, what you would expect from a writer like this. But I think you just had to find the charm and the believability that he thinks he's the hero.
Definitely. And what kind of obstacles were there in making this? Because there is no huge action scene. There's, nothing that uh really pops out when it comes to and that point. But it is so heartwarming. It's so touching. It's so creepy that it does really resonate with audiences. How difficult is it to make something like this?
Did you guys cut out the car chase scene, Kate?
Oh yeah, shoot.
Oh, see, I must have
One
seen an
over the
older
bridge.
cut.
I'm so sorry we made you train in martial arts for so long.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry about
I
that.
did stunt driving with Tom Cruise for
It
like
was
6 months.
crazy. No, I mean, I would say like any film, people joke that like films don't want to be made. That you'll run into so many obstacles, especially we had 15 days to shoot this movie.
Wow.
And it was the hardest part was just that there were so many locations that we were also really ambitious people, filmmakers, and so we didn't want to let the 15 days or or a budget limit us creatively, and so we had to come up with creative solutions of how to get the same type of quality that we saw in other films that we wanted, how to get that with what we had. And so I would say that like the most challenging part was also the most rewarding part, which was just like creative problem solving and doing something, finding ways to bring in and honor the movies that we love and that we're emulating and make it in a way that's actually doable for us. And so, yeah, there was a lot of like long days where we didn't know if we were going to get everything in. There was, we talk a lot about the fair scene and how we had one night to shoot everything that happened at the fair, and we only had, I would say, under 10 background actors. And so we were setting up shots and we could only turn on 2 rides at a time. So we had one ride in the foreground and then we pick a ride in the background to make it look big and get the same actors walking back and forth and have them change clothes and do it the other way. And it was a lot of finessing, yeah, and a lot of hope and naivete. And that helped us, I think.
Gusto, some
Look
might
at
call it.
a lot
A lot
of
of gumption.
collar gumption is what we
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, you succeeded on this project. It is a
Yeah.
magnificent watch, and I think, indie filmmaking is the best because you guys do have a lot of creative, troubleshooting, and once again, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Lucas.